All right. Good evening and thank you. You coming tonight makes our hearts happy. So thank you very much. My name is Cathy Nelson. I am Librarian Emeritus, which is a fancy way of saying I retired. And with me is Sallie Calliandri, town historian and a Historical Society pioneer member.
Not quite. No.
Almost. And she knows more than I will ever. So tonight is really her program and I'll chime in occasionally.
Okay.
Oh.
You're gonna do the first couple?
Oops, I need to move the arrow.
The other way?
And it's not moving?
Just
Okay, where do
yeah,
I? Oh,
just the arrow.
that arrow. I was doing this. Okay. This page is referring to the one book project that the library had. I think the book was called Omnivore's Dilemma. And this page is a reference where it says that a farm supports not just a family, but it can support up to 12 additional families with growing animals and vegetables and fruits and so on. And an interesting statistic is that in 1914, there were 108 farmers and 803 households in town. And you're on.
Okay.
Can you hear or does she need to hold
Do
it?
I need to, yeah. Is this audible for everybody? Okay, okay. Well, early farming, way back in the Stone Age, if you wanted it, if you want it, you have to grow it. Some of the frequent crops that were grown in Berlin, wheat, rye was very popular, corn, squashes and pumpkins, vegetables for the kitchen garden, and fruits and apples, oats, hay, alfalfa for the animals, and some of the livestock that you would see, chickens, cows, pigs, sheep. You would see horses. Most of the, when I looked, there's an agricultural census that was done in 1870 and 1880, which is available on ancestry.com. I think it's free. And it's available at the library here if you want to look at it. But it lists anybody who called themselves a farmer, raised produce. Interesting thing, you would see maybe most people only had one horse. And they, that was for all purpose. You rode it, it pulled a wagon. Maybe if you were wealthy, you had two for a carriage or something like that. Cows, it varied. You had anywhere from one cow to maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, depending on the size of the farm. I found an interesting inventory from, as you know, I grew up on Kensington Road, and by the time I came along, all we had was chickens, but that was enough. But I found an inventory for Nathaniel Cole II, who died in 1778. He had 10 sheep and then in another place he had 18 sheep and lambs, one farrow cow, one red heifer, one red steer, one 2-year-old steer, one black yearling, I'm assuming that's some sort of a cow, one yoke of oxen, that was usually 2, one horse, 5 hives of bees, 3 pounds of hops, 20 bushels of wheat, 20 bushels of rye, and 1 peck of beans. I'm not sure of the count of that, but anyway, that's there. Some early farmers, or next slide was, if you know this house is the Murray House, it's just west of the American Legion. And it was built by Norman Porter around 1846. And that's where we get the name Porter's Pass from. He was a gentleman farmer. He was born in town, went to Kentucky and made a whole lot of money and came back. And he didn't really need the money, but he enjoyed it. And he had wonderful things to eat, which he shared very happily. He had strawberries.
Hold on.
Okay.
There's the strawberries.
Right. And one story that we heard was that he was the first person in town to eat a tomato. So, because everybody else thought they were poisonous.
Yeah.
Okay, and the leaves are poisonous, I believe. Yeah. So another one, I had to put in Norris Dunham because he was our neighbor for many, many years. He died, well, he died in 1903. The building, this was the old Christopic farm at 932 Kensington Road, and the Christopic family still lives there. But Norris Dunham's father built the house in around 1785. He owned about 60 acres of tilled land that was worth about $8,000. And you can see the rest of the land that he owned. He had 4 horses, so he was pretty well off. Only 2 oxen. One of the things that you see a lot in these agricultural census, you don't see a lot of milk. Back in the 1800s, you didn't have refrigeration, so they didn't keep a lot of milk on hand, and they made it into butter or cheese, and they would sell that along the way. It looks like he had a lot of eggs, and you can a lot of butter and a lot of apple trees. So a lot, and
Next.
another one, yeah, another one. Now, interesting with Norris Dunham, he died, I think it was 1903. There were a couple of families that either bought or rented the place up until I think the mid-20s, and that's when the Christopic family bought it. I think in the early to mid-20s. I can't remember the exact date, but they're still there. So, and that piece, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Another one we recognize as the Pito farm, that house. And in 1880, well, the house was built by Asahel Coles back in the 1700s. And that's at 680 Kensington Road. And in the late 1800s and early 1900s, it was owned by Linus Cornwell. And you can see what he grew there. He also only had 1 horse. But he had a bunch of cows and a bunch of calves. Only 25 chickens. So, and the interesting thing is that piece, which is probably going to be subdivided soon, unfortunately, but it's almost intact. I think it's 120 acres now, and it was 150 acres. So another one, James Kennedy.
Do I have a picture right now?
I'm not sure.
Oh, good.
Um,
This may not be the right picture.
Yeah, Marilyn, is that your?
It looks familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
No.
never mind.
Okay, okay. He was on Edgewood Road. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. But this was back in 1880. The house that I'm thinking of, which is Marilyn D. Maria's house, I believe it was built by Aaron Parsons back in the 1700s. And they had 2 horses. So, and again, 700 pounds of butter. What would you do with 700 pounds? But yeah, exactly. only 10 chickens, 6 cows. That makes for a lot of butter, a lot of cheese. C. Fred Johnson on Norton Road. If anybody remembers Blanche Delaney, that was her home for many years. It was originally, I think the owner before that was Edward Cole, and of Cole Lane fame, and I think it was Elisha Cole, but I think that there was a different Cole that built it, but it was in the Cole family for like 200 years. And, there's always something there. I can remember walking through those fields when I was a kid. Another one is 19 Glen Street. And this was Solomon Winchell House. And I'm not sure how much property he owned. Another one, next one, is that one's still operating. Cold Spring Farm was owned by the Beckley family, John Beckley. And it was owned by the Beckley family up until the early 1900s when the Nielsen family bought it. And they're still there. So that's the oldest house in town. Yes. Yeah.
Right on the Rocky Hill line.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Another place we're going to go into some East Berlin ones, the Dyer Farm. And that was part of the Hanson Farm. And that was off of Spruce Brook Road. Okay. And then the Lund Farm was in that same general area. That house is no longer there. And someone was asking about the Wilk Farm, which was also in Spruce Brook Road. And I heard a neat story about cows crossing the road, and it was probably either to and from pasture or back to the barn to be milked. So
Back to the barn to be milked.
yep. Yeah, you did that at least twice a day. Farmers get up at about 4 o'clock in the morning to milk the cows, let them out to eat, and then they come back around 3 or 4 o'clock. Another gentleman farmer was Charles Jarvis, lived on the corner of Sunset Lane and Worthington Ridge. That house is still there. A lot of the acreage is gone.
They have a lot of statues in the yard.
Yes. Charles Jarvis built that house in, I think, the early 1900s. So he was he president of Berlin Iron Bridge at one time,
Yes.
which was a major industry in East Berlin. I'm not sure who's there now. Pardon me?
Still Travers.
Travers? Okay. All right.
Bill Travers.
Yeah. I know when I was in high school, Sharon Jones and her family lived there. I graduated with her. The next one is Senievich Dairy from Lower Lane Dairy. They've been there for quite some time. And then, yes, they did. The Wren Egg Farm was on Elton Road. The house is still there. I believe they moved there in the 20s or the 30s. I know our family was friends with them for quite some time. Another one is the Indalek House, which was built by our Oliver Hart in the 1700s. It stayed in the Hart family for quite some time, and the land went all the way up to Ragged Mountain. So another place was the Amos Peck House, which is right across from South Kensington Fire Department. The house was reportedly built in around 1715, and it stayed in the Peck family until the early 1900s. Another one is Nichols Dairy, and this is down on Chamberlain Highway, way down in South Kensington. And I love this picture. I don't know that much about the Nichols family. Do you know, Lorraine?
They came from Switzerland in the 1880s, I think.
1880s? Okay, okay,
From Switzerland.
right,
Okay.
okay. And we talk about the barns. An interesting thing when you read through old wills and inventories, you'll see the term cow house or hay house or horse house. They didn't use barns. I don't know why, but and you have different styles that evolved along the way. The Beckley Road Dairy.
Oh, I was.
Okay.
A lot of
Okay.
them haven't survived.
Right, yeah. Huh? Wilcox Farm on Kensington Road. Okay. There's that house was built somewhere around 1780, somewhere in that ballpark. If you remember the barn that was there, my mother always told stories about when I was born, she was in the hospital. They had a fire in the original barn, which destroyed it. And the barn that I remember, I think, was cinder block. So, and that's long gone. There's houses there now.
What was the big barn across the street from the Wilcox farm? That burned when we were having a fire every weekend or so.
I don't remember that.
Big barn. It was
Yeah, I don't,
right
across,
close to the road.
it might have been, I should know because that's Kensington Road. That's my ballpark. And I can't think, I know. Yeah, it's out of my head. I'll think of it at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, okay, this one is still standing. And then there's another one, the Norton Horse Barn on, I think this is Hillcrest Avenue. Norton's had farms all over town. It was such a large family, and we'll get into some of them. The Emerson house, that barn, I believe, is still there. Behind the house on Grove Hill. I don't know much about the Weldon barn and greenhouses. I've seen the name Weldon from like the 1930s, but I really don't know much about it. Anybody here? No? No? Okay. The last one, yeah, this one, I'm sure a lot of people remember. This was the Christophic barn on Kensington Road. When you're heading south on Kensington Road, the first right-hand turn, is the Christophic farm. That barn lasted until, oh Lordy, I think it was the 80s. And every time I went by it, I would goose the engine of the car because I was always afraid the barn was going to fall down. And I think they finally made them take it down. But you can see this in this picture is taken in the 50s. And the part that you can see was all like for hay storage and food storage for the cattle. The cows were underneath in a separate opening. Another nice barn that's still there is on Chamberlain Highway. I'm not sure who owns it now.
Oh, McCutch.
Oh, is that McCatchy's barn? Okay. I can't remember who was there before.
Used to be
Wallace, okay. And then another one on Worthington Ridge is the Phineas Squires Case barn, and this is where Mr. Bunce stored his airplane.
He built it in the 1910s, one of the first ones, pioneered,
Right.
and then it got stored in the barn for like 50 years. And now it's at the New England Air Museum.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know?
I've seen it. I don't know much about planes, but it's very basic plane.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And the next one on Worthington Ridge, we have the Elishama Brandegee barn on 840. So, I mean, this was in a time when, everybody had a cow, a few chickens, just enough to keep yourself, keep yourself in food, in milk and eggs and
Butter.
chicken butter. Yeah. And here's another one. Does anybody know where this barn is? No, I don't either,
Okay.
but
It was a pretty picture on the internet, so.
right. Yeah. And Fuller Tavern, which is on the corner of Worthington Ridge and Sunset Lane. And that barn is in pretty good shape. And then there's another one that needs a paint job. So we have, yeah,
Some of the firms.
I am not sure. Anybody can answer that question? For rolling tobacco? Okay, okay. I would think shade tobacco, okay. All right, yeah, I remember seeing some inventories around like Spruce Brook Road, Berlin Turnpike, that area where they would grow tobacco. But I really don't know that much about it, so.
Sally, the Dyers had like a tobacco barn on across from the Hansons.
Okay,
Thistle Creek area,
okay,
and it was shade room tobacco.
okay, okay. All right, as I mentioned before, some of the common animals that you would see were cows, chickens, pigs, goats, and sheep. When I was growing up, I remember having like 25 to 30 chickens. We had one cow that we got rid of when I was 2. And usually I've got this wonderful picture of my grandfather with two workhorses for cutting hay, but that we show the school kids, and they love it because their names were Jack and Jerry. So that's a name that I remember from my childhood. And they were long gone by the time I came around. It seems as though most of the time in this area, they used oxen for plowing and the heavy duty stuff. They're less skittish than horses. They kind of plod around, and I think they're easier to train, perhaps. I'm theorizing there. And that was up until tractors. And tractors started in like the teens and the 20s. Gas was real cheap. You didn't have to feed them. So, that was, that came into vogue, as I said, in the
It was a bit expensive.
the tractors. Yeah, but when you think you don't have to feed an animal, you don't have to worry about it getting sick, replacing it if it dies.
Faster.
Huh?
Faster.
Faster, that's true. And we have another neat one of chickens at the Beckley Road Dairy. And this is on the site of the Berlin Fair. So, and this is no, this is my mother. This is another one that I show the kids. And they go bananas. She's holding a chicken, and I think what she was doing is, usually you'll separate chicks from the adult chickens when they're really babies, because they can get hurt. If they're not mama's chicks, she's not going to care. And so we would have them we called it a brooder house.
Yeah.
And when they got to be a certain size, then they would be transferred in with the adult chickens when they could hold their own. So that's Hilder holding a chicken. And that's somewhere in the yard.
That building in the back.
Huh? I'm not sure. I think it's just a spot on the
That didn't work.
I think that's a hayfield. I'm not quite sure where it is. It looks so different now. And from from what I remember when I was growing up, that you figure this picture was taken probably around 1912, 1913. I was born in 1947 and grew up there, but things were still a lot different. But anyway, and this is another one. My kids were, this is, if anybody's been to my house on Kensington Road, there's a 4-car garage there now. And, but this was a building that my grandfather built. It was connected to the house and started out with an outhouse and then a tool shed. The large opening there was for, my dad used that for a tractor. And then the chicken house was off to the left. So, we had like 25, 30 chickens, and we had probably the chicken house was not any bigger than this room. It was probably smaller. And the chicken yard was probably about the same size. And I cannot believe that we need to have 10 acres for one chicken. So
Yeah.
I think that's the dumbest thing in the world, and you can quote me on that. All right, another picture is Lester Norton.
Okay, yep.
And this was off of Tollgate Road. The farm was the site of the Danheiser Inn. That was the farmhouse. And he had a lot of sheep. As time went on, I didn't see a lot of sheep being raised. There were some, but not as many as there were, I think, in the 18th century. And I think a lot of that might have been after the Civil War. Cotton was readily available, and also when you had the Industrial Revolution, you had all these factories where material was made. So you didn't have to weave your own, you didn't have that much of a need for wool or linen. So, and then we have Daisy. This is a cow we had. I don't remember her. She was before my time. And then we have Beckley Road Dairy again. Norton's cows. I'm not sure, who knows what kind of cows these were? Can anybody tell?
Could be brown Swiss.
Brown Swiss? Okay, okay. Yeah, I know some of them. And the Nichols ones, I'm not sure. They look like they might be mixed. Sure. These are beef cows, I know that. Herefords, right? Okay. All right. And as we said before, farm activities, you start like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And if you don't start then, your cows will wake you up because they're going to get uncomfortable. And then what do? Depends on the season. Right now. There's always something to do. Even in the winter, you've got equipment that you've got to fix. Yeah. I know my thought was always when you saw the manure spreader coming around and smelling the manure, that was always a wonderful smell to me because to me it said spring is coming. And anybody, if you don't like the smell, don't move next to a farm. Too bad. And then here is my grandfather getting ready to cut hay. He usually tried to get 2 cuttings a year. First one was usually around Memorial Day. And then second was usually around Labor Day. Am I getting these right? I know I see farmers out there. Am I getting most of these right, Dave? Huh?
I think you forgot one.
Huh?
The Bamberger farm.
We couldn't fit them all in. So
And sometimes it was, what do we have pictures of that are readily accessible? Wow.
Wow. That is a lot. Okay, we have some from, I think these are from the Johnson farm.
Okay.
Loading the, once you cut the hay, you've got to rake it, you've got to, and before the days of the tractor, you didn't have the rakes so you had to use a pitchfork to get it onto the wagon. And yeah, we can go right in through those.
No, no,
different.
we're talking about Blanche Delaney's family on Norton
On
Road.
Norton Road,
The Johnsons that did the nursery are,
a different family. Yeah.
I don't think they're even related,
No, I don't think so.
other than they're friends, but,
Yeah.
or were friends.
Yeah. Okay, and this is,
I
okay,
skipped to cider,
okay,
unless you want to say something
No.
more about haying.
no, that's okay. Huh? The Shear family had a cider mill, and that was on Orchard Road near Chamberlain Highway. And you can see all those wonderful barrels. There were other cider mills in town. There was one that I remember very well on Kensington Road. The Pito family had a cider mill the only thing that's there now is the foundation. That went a long time ago.
Is that Dr.
This is Dr. Shear's family. Yeah, same family. And then we got
Oh,
more
plowing.
plowing. And then finally, we're getting into the tractors, and we have Peter Horrible. And that's his grandson, who is still around he's still around somewhere. He lives in that area, yeah. And okay, now, one thing we didn't mention, when we had the Jarvis farm, Charles Jarvis was the first to grow alfalfa. And I know when I was a kid, alfalfa was a big thing in feeding the cows. We had a whole field full of it. So, and what do we have to bring the Berlin Fair? Because it started out as an agricultural fair. And this is from 1908. And they also had trotting horse races.
And of course, today.
Absolutely, still a big thing.
On to the Grange.
The Berlin Grange was an organization that started after the Civil War. And I think it was, they sold the building in 1989. It was dissolved in 2019. And the building is still there. It's gone through a couple of incarnations. I think on Farmington Avenue at one time, not too long ago, it was a preschool, which I think is cool. They used to have a fair in the basement, and many times they had dinners. Usually the Grange Fair was held maybe a week or two before the Berlin Fair. And back in the day, we had specialty markets. Now you go to Food Mart, Stop and Shop, Big Y, wherever you go. Wherever you have to go. And now, back then, if you wanted meat, you went to a butcher. If you wanted fish, you went to Clay Ray's. If you wanted baked goods, you went to a bakery. And even, home delivery of milk. That was not all that long ago. These are some of the places that we had in town. We had Williams Meat Market was on Main Street in Kensington. Ronchetti's, Charlie Ronchetti and Jack Guyana were in business together for a while. Then they split up. I can remember going to Ronchetti's where Mimo Bistro is now, Main Street in Kensington. And that's near Paper Goods. Let's see, can we go to the next one?
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll pay attention again.
Okay, the Galpin store became a First National on Worthington Ridge, and that was a store early in the 1800s. It was a general store, so. And I mentioned Clary's. I miss that place. Wonderful. And if you wanted baked goodies, you had Mary's Pastry Shop. And then Peter's Bakery.
Couldn't find a picture for All Sweet.
And we had the dairies that delivered. Fred Johnson was one. We only have a couple of pictures of these. And Ferndale, of course, and then we had Rockland Dairy. You also had dry goods stores and other neighborhood markers. Nobody remembers this one because this was before any of our time. This was Mott's store. It was on the site of where Walgreens is now. So, and if you can kind of see, I don't know, maybe not in this picture, but there was an old house that was one of the oldest houses in town. That was it was built by Thomas Hart. Back in the 50s, it was owned by the Simeon family. If you remember that. In East Berlin, you have the Honus store. And that actually in the 1960s, that became a Ferndale dairy store. They had after the ice cream bar closed, they had a dairy store at the Chamberlain Highway location. They had one in East Berlin, and they had another one in Plainville. That and I still call it Victory Market.
Yeah.
And that was actually, if you don't know, that was the site of the main entrance for the old Berlin Fair when it was on Farmington Avenue. So, and what happened now, everything you buy in the supermarket. In one way, it's convenient, but you have to wonder if the quality is the same as what it was 60 years ago. We have our generic stores here. Yeah. I can remember having to go to the A&P in New Britain across from North and Judd. So today, what we have is we still have some fruit and vegetable stands.
Oh.
Thank goodness. We still have nurseries where we can pick up our own plants and plant our own gardens.
We don't have one.
Huh?
We may not have one pretty soon. What is it?
Oh, Lower Lane.
Lower
Yeah, I heard.
Lane.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. They're still not in town, but there are in the state. At least we have some orchards, and Rogers Orchards is right up the road from us, and that used to be part of Berlin. And same for cider mills. Sunny Border is now Hauser. So that was a wholesale sherry.
The Goat Man?
Mr. Lynn. And that was a wonderful thing that he did for, any babies that were allergic to cow's milk. He would do that. And we still have Ferndale Farm on Robbins Road. It was bought by Lyman Hall, and Terry Hall is his grandson. So we still have Cold Spring Farm.
Yes.
And that's been in the Nielsen family since the 20s. And we have Matson Farm, which is meat of all sorts. They have wonderful meat there.
Yeah.
We have the Burger Farm, which is part of the Indilac Farm, which was part of the Hart Farm. And I think they still go up to Ragged Mountain. And Laviana's is still there. They're not doing it. I don't think they're doing any retail sales, but that was part of Roger Norton's farm. And that was from the American Revolution. So we had Horrible Farm, which I think they still sell plants in the spring. I'm not sure.
They haven't in the last couple of years.
No, okay. All right. You know, they used to have the best blueberries. I used to love them. But that was also part of the Indilac farm. And, you know, today what we're doing, we have our, we grow our tomatoes and our veggies and again, I want to get on my soapbox about those 10-acre chickens. Good grief. We still have some beautiful areas, some nice farms. The ones that come to mind, the Pito Farm on Kensington Road, the Christopic Farm on Kensington Road. Those are the ones that I am most familiar with. Can you think of other ones?
Well, we've got the Horrible
We've got-
Farm here,
Yeah. Okay.
and we've got a Christopic Farm.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
How about the Di Maria farm?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. The
This-
Grass Farm.
This one is actually a painting by Nelson Augustus Moore of Turkey Hill. And any excuse I have to use a N.A. Moore picture, I'm going to, so
Right.
indulging.
Yeah. One of the things that's very interesting, if you could go back to that slide.
Sure.
This picture was painted probably from the stone house. Who knows what that hill is in the background? That is Turkey Hill, which is fully forested now, except for the houses. But back then it was, I mean, you could graze animals up there. You know, this was like the mid 1800s, probably 1870s, something like that.
part of Berlin?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kensington.
It's the highest point in Berlin. So, yeah, Gary.
I lived there, on the hill, and we still raise. Mice.
You can keep them. Okay. And as Edwin used to say, farming is a hard life. Farming has to be in your blood. It's very true, but it's so rewarding and you have a sense of communing with the land that you never get in any other way.
Thank you.
You know, your animals, I think it was Sallie Johnson and Blanche Delaney said in an interview one time, you treat your animals better than yourself. Because you just have such a respect for them. So that's that. That's basically our program.
Very good.
Question. You're welcome. Yeah.
The farms that were on Chamberlain Highway, way back when it was called the Caterpillar of the World.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. My grandfather had a big dairy farm and it never seems to come up.
Okay.
He was an immigrant from Poland back in the 1800s. He worked his way up. He rented farms until it got to the point where he could buy one. And it was in the early 1900s. It's where the Kerns live now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I don't remember now.
Ezra Scoville
Okay.
would built the house.
And I grew up there.
Yeah.
And he had quite a large dairy herd
Mhm.
because I remember his having those large milk cans and he would sell the milk to Ferndale, I believe. and then
Okay.
distributed it.
Yeah.
He also had an apple orchard in the back. I don't know if he sold anything commercially. I remember my grandmother with a single force. There was a big plot in the back where she had potatoes
Mhm.
and she would, with the horse.
Mhm.
But it never comes up when,
What was the last name?
his name is Lukashevitz.
Okay,
So, and yeah, so I have some documents that I've got to dig out and donate.
wonderful. Yeah, okay.
Please share.
Well, of course, back in the sixties, they came along and took the farm by eminent domain
Right,
for the golf course.
yeah.
And my father cried every night at dinner. I guess they took this.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
But he worked very, very hard.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So, and I don't have any photographs, but, and the barn is gone. In fact, there's a little house there now where I live.
Mhm.
The barn is gone, but I don't know if anybody remembers. Many years ago, the Berlin Savings Bank had a thing where they sold these prints.
Yes, yes,
Is a top hill above the house. It would be a little bit like where the church, which is now the health center,
right, yeah.
and you can see the house and the barn.
Oh, cool, yeah,
And that's- yeah, and that's it.
wow, wow, yeah,
Thank you.
I've got to dig out, because I've got some documents and things.
Yeah.
Gotta dig out.
yeah.
Yes, or at least share.
There are
We
so
can make
many,
copies.
there are so many farms that we either we don't have any photos of, or we just don't have a lot of knowledge of.
An old Victorian town.
Right, yeah. Right. Yeah,
But even 88% one time it was on Amsterdam.
right, yeah, yeah. And so much of it has gone.
I don't think there's any photographs before 1950.
Yeah. There are two maps available to the public. One is from 1855 and it's Hartford County. And that are available online through Yukon. If you Google Yukon Magic Maps, the names of the owners are on that map. There's another one from Berlin that's either 1867 or 1869. I never remember which, but they also have the names of the owners. So
Which
you
she's
can
talking
kind of
about much later.
right, yeah, yeah. So
Anyone else?
Gary, yeah.
Tell you a story. Remember Melologics?
Oh, yes.
Farm? Frank Matika told us a story one time. He said, and I don't know if this is true. That somebody had shot somebody in that barn.
No, I don't think it was that barn. It was right, yeah. There was a barn on the corner of one of those sharp corners on Orchard Road.
It's still
Like-
there.
No, it's gone. No, that's gone.
What was the story?
I think it was two brothers that shot each other.
Over a card game.
Huh? Oh, over a card game, yeah.
We decided to have some fun with it. We put a red lantern in the barn. And yeah, the idea was to have a little, come down the hill. My mother had a convertible and I was listening at some kids in the car. And then I'd come down the hill and Kramer, John Banks would be in the horses. I told the girl about the editor and everything, and as we got closer to the barn, the lanterns would get brighter and brighter.
Mhm.
I'd pull over and I'd say, that's the eyeball that they want. So one night, I drove back seat. He said to me very nicely, you made me pee my pants.
All right. Okay, in the back? Right, yeah. Like I said, we couldn't hit all of them.
That running water.
Oh, neat.
Grandfather from Italy had some friends who want to make wine baths. So they built a hill that was higher than the house.
Oh, cool.
And they put a think it was like 1,000-gallon wine vat.
Wow.
Top of the hill, it was in the ground. And then they had a gas pump. And they would pump during the day, they pump the water into the wine vat. And since it was higher than the house, the gravity would feed the water into the house. They had one.
Yeah, oh, that is cool.
Ingenious.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, yeah, okay, Dave, yeah.
Back in the days when I was a kid, I haven't mentioned the Maple Shade Farm.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah,
I told,
farming history.
uh,
I think Maryland, Donald Munson and there used to do the 4-H there.
yeah,
Remember, we were all in the 4-H, every time we
Yeah.
got pictures of it.
Yeah.
George Wilcox and the Wilcox Farm and a lot of the old timers.
yeah, my sister was in that for a while.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
We, they used to come up. Holsteins.
yeah,
That milk was, delivered to, Ventures Dairy.
Mhm. right,
They were one of 2 or 3.
right. That,
Same on highway, they used to produce.
Yeah.
things.
that house was built by Gideon Williams. Back around 1800, something like that, and that's another story about Gideon, but the house came into, I think in the around 1820 something, it became the property of Philip Norton. His father was a Revolutionary War soldier, and he owned actually the pictures that we have of the Albert Norton farm. That was a relative, because Samuel Norton, Philip Norton was a son of Samuel Norton. And that house stayed in the Norton family until the early 1900s. And that's, I think the Munsons, the Munsons bought it in the 1930s sometime. I can't remember when. Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in the 30s sometime. I know it was it was theirs by the 1940s because they were instrumental in developing Memorial Pool. That site. Right. Right. Yeah. Right.
Another piece of history that brings a chuckle to the really one. Back in the days, when they were haying, farmers and stuff, horse drawn, either for brakes or draw behind sickle bar mowers.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the farmers put their lives on something.
Right.
They would go along and they'd be, producing cutting their hay or raking their hay. They go into a nest of bees or something.
Right.
And they would take off. And you couldn't control the animals.
Right. Yeah.
They fell into the implements or whatever.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was dangerous. Yeah.
I wanted to mention the Samuel Norton. They're the previous owner of Munson Farm there. He was Marjorie Moore's grandfather. Or Philip Norton. Sorry,
Right.
Philip
Yeah.
Norton was Marjorie Moore's grandfather.
Yeah.
Plenty of history of Nortons or
Oh, yeah.
Peck.
Right. Yeah.
Coincidentally, our next cemetery program is going to be on the Blue Hill Cemetery South Burying Ground. And that'll be in June at the Senior Center.
Okay.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
many Nortons,
Yeah.
but Grove Hill, okay,
Related. They're related.
trust us.
Yeah. Yes, excellent.
Well, not that many, but yes, there are.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that are not documented. So any other questions? Okay, go ahead.
Somebody who hasn't talked.
Absolutely. right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because of all of the distilleries that were,
The cider mills.
the cider mills
We'll
that
put it
also,
positively.
yeah, all the cider mills that also distilled brandy. So,
And the
Marjorie-
one who changed it was our first postmistress of Kensington Post Office, Marjorie Moore.
Right, she didn't like the name. She thought that was scandalous.
I want to thank you all for coming. Our next event here at the library is May 12th. It's a Tuesday at 6 o'clock. They tell us people will show up at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, and we'll be talking about the town residents who were part of the American Revolution. And we've got some pretty good stories and we'd love to share it with you. At the Senior Center, May 19th, we're doing a program about the Yankee peddlers, the tin industry here in town, and wooden nutmegs and other things that we can think of. And in June, I've forgotten the date, probably around the 8th or so, or 9th, we're at the Senior Center to do the South Burying Ground, Blue Hills Cemetery. And again, that's at 1 o'clock. And there'll be flyers about and Facebook posts and so on. So thank you all. Have some lemonade and some homemade chocolate chip brownies. And we're going to be here for a while, so come on up and ask us questions.